Canada is firmly a top 2 hockey nation in North America. It's definitely somewhere in the top 2. The game absolutely lived up to the hype. It was an event in not just hockey, but in sports. And in this country, the U.S. defeats Canada 3-1 in their own barn in Montreal, hostile environment, and clinch a spot in Thursday's championship game. Tonight's game against Sweden, it doesn't actually mean anything. It could be a precursor to the championship game, by the way. There's still a world where Sweden gets in. I mean, by the time this is out to the masses, the first game will be over. But if that first game goes to overtime and Sweden wins in regulation, we had a U.S.-Sweden rematch 3 days from now. It has absolutely delivered. This tournament has delivered. That game delivered. It was the craziest first 10 seconds of any sporting event I've ever seen. And my God, I got to watch it at a hockey special bar here in Chicago. And it was packed out. We reserved a table. Thank God we did, or else we wouldn't have had anywhere to sit. There were even some Canadians there. And I tell you, the puck drops and it's Tkachuk and Hagel, and the place is going just bananas. Okay, bananas. And it's all fired up. And right before the second one, somebody yells out, "Oh my God, they're going to go again." And it's Brady Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. I thought we were going to need the fire marshal. The roof was coming off the place. It was one of the top 10 or 15 great just moments of being there with a bunch of fans watching it explode. It was awesome. And the JT Miller fight, forget about that one. But this is what it was supposed to be. The U.S. is a big winner in this one, but the biggest winner is the National Hockey League. Bravo, NHL. Olympics, IAHF, that shit ain't happening. There's no 2 fights in the first 3 seconds. They would ban those guys for the entire tournament for doing that. But the NHL puts in their rules and allows it to be an NHL kind of game. And that's what that was. That was a playoff game with real vendettas there. And I mean, talk about actually I just didn't think it was going to live up to the hype, because we don't hype is so synthetic these days, but this was very real. 2 weeks ago, this was a tournament that very few people cared about. Very few people were looking forward to. It was made up, Fugazi, just pick 4 teams, put them in there because our all-star game sucks. And now this game on Saturday was an event. It was a big-time, massive appointment television for hockey in this country. And Lord knows what it did in Canada. An average of 4.5 million viewers in the U.S. for that game. Those of you just into Super Bowl ratings, that's small potatoes. But that is a massive, massive TV audience for American hockey. For not a Stanley Cup game, not a Stanley Cup final game, not an Olympic gold medal game, a round robin game in something called the Four Nations tournament, the Four Nations face-off. And the best thing that happened was you had the 1-versus-2 college basketball matchup earlier in the day. 7 p.m., you could watch Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul just throw basketballs off a rack into thin air, or you could watch 3 fights in 9 seconds. You can watch actual bad blood. You can watch a whole nation boo another nation's national anthem and actually have to pay for it. And you miss some damn good, high-level, top-of-the-line, best in the world kind of ice hockey. I know which one I'm picking. Let's just say that. But what a rousing success this has been for the NHL. And this will lift off everyone else's ratings in hockey. Guaranteed. No matter how this tournament ends. Canada could beat the U.S. on Thursday. It's not going to matter. It's still, in terms of this, it's still going to take off these NHL ratings. It's the best thing that could ever happen to them. Not that the game was any drier, but the league has sucked at it, at promoting it with these blackouts and the way ESPN just totally mails it in. Like it's not great. That's why the numbers have dipped so much. This will be a launching pad. Just like in 2010 when the US made it to the gold medal game, it really took off in this country for the next 5 or 6 years, really. The NHL playoffs were a big deal. NBC did a great job with it. And it really took off. And you had some big-time American markets winning the Stanley Cup at that time too, which was also important, right? Chicago, Boston, LA. That was pretty important too. But that was as anticipated a hockey game that I've had since the Bruins were in the Cup final. And I thought I was thinking that about Game 7 last year, like to take the Bruins out of this. I thought Florida, Edmonton, that Game 7 had a ton of hype and was a great event. And it was, but it was nothing compared to what we just watched on Saturday. That was awesome, man. And if you went on social media on Saturday night, that's all anybody was talking about, a hockey game. And it had everything you wanted. It had the fights. It had Connor McDavid being brilliant. It had some good high-end hockey. It had some bad Canadian goaltending. It had a ton of Freebird, man. It was, what an event. What did we say, Zach? I said this was going to be an event, not a game, an event. And that's exactly what it became. Oh, you should have saw this bar on Saturday, man. Oh. What a great night for hockey. And it's not done yet. It's not done yet. Now we shift it to Boston. I am intrigued to hear how the Canadian anthem is handled. That first game, I don't know how many American fans are going to be there. A good amount, like there was for, the US-Finland game. There was plenty of Canadians there at Bell Center. So I think, and I should have got this video, Zach. This is totally on me. I think they'll do what they did in 2004 when the Bruins were playing the Canadiens in the first round and the Montreal fans booed the American national anthem in Montreal. And then it came back to Boston and they just cheered right through it, cheered right through the Canadian anthem. Don Cherry was on Hockey Night in Canada being like, "That's the classiest place in the world, Boston, best sports fans on the planet. They will not boo our anthem because they've got too much class." And he was right. They didn't.
Let me see if I can find it for you.
That would be great, man. That would be fantastic. Because then I want your thoughts on this game. But I just, everything you could have wanted, truly. And it did make me think of 2010, which was, I would say, a pretty big launching point for me as a hockey fan. I was a hockey fan before that, but like, I would say it was firmly my fourth favorite sport of the four major sports. And then that run happened. The U.S. went all the way to the gold medal game and had already beaten Canada in that tournament, by the way, and should have beaten them in the gold medal game. But Canada had too much quality. And from there, it took off. It helped the Bruins were really good too back then. So I got a soft spot for that. And I'm hoping that it takes off for another generation here. But who would have thunk it? This nothing tournament. I think this will probably be the only one because of that World Cup of Hockey setup. And so you have something every 2 years. I don't know if the Players Union will love having something every year and how watered down that might be. But if they have this ace in the hole, man. And I got to say, like, we don't get too political on this show because I'm not political, but I think when Matthew Tkachuk, after the game on Thursday, when they asked him about, Canada and the fans booing the national anthem, and all he said was, "I didn't like it." That's all I'm going to say. And then that's how we start the US-Canada game. Like, say what you want. Like, say it's kind of bullshit. These guys don't care. Or you can say they're January 6th insurrection if you want to do that, because that seems to be what everyone does. They do care. And I mean, hockey is fairly conservative, both Americans and Canadians, but I don't know that they're all like bleeding heart Trump guys on that team. I think they just are wearing USA across their chest, and the other fans are booing the national anthem. Like, that's going to get you fired up. That is going to put something into this thing. Like, you can't, like, even as I guess secular is not the right word because that's a different thing, but like as disconnected as we can be politically and with national pride in 2025, when you have 20 guys who are giving up their break to play for Team USA and then the national anthem gets booed, of course that's going to charge them up. Of course it is. Like, that's not fake, man. That's not, I don't know, man. It was awesome.
You want to?
Yes. All right. So this is.
You want to see some Don Cherry?
To set the scene, 2004, Canadiens Bruins. Canadiens fans were booing the American national anthem. Don Cherry knew they weren't going to do that in Boston, and I think it's the way that we should handle this at Four Nations. Grapes, take it away.
I got a little clip I want to show you about those lovely people in Boston, the greatest people in the world in Boston, bar none. Go ahead and run it, please. But I guarantee you, you and Kelly were talking about in Boston, they won't boo our national anthem because they've got too much class.
Yes. TD Garden icon actually shown at the end of that video. The real ones know. What's so funny to me is Don Cherry is the most like patriotic Canadian person you could possibly find, except for this one fact, this one facet of it that we tap into there is he hates Montreal. He hates the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think he likes just French-speaking Quebecers at all. And so he loves Canada. But when this comes in, he's like seething. He loves Boston. He loves the Bruins. So I think that's how the Americans should handle it. I think that'd be very funny. But if I had to guess, I would guess they'll probably boo the national anthem. It will not be boo O Canada, obviously. It won't be the same way that they did it in Canada. It won't be that fierce. But I think they should just cheer right through it. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Too much glass. That wasn't even, we didn't even turn the volume up on that. That's just Don Cherry.
Yeah,
that's just his volume.
The thing I remember here lately about Don Cherry is when Carolina had their little run and he got upset about them celebrating goals and just referred to them as a bunch of jerks, and they just ran with it.
Yeah. That was towards the end. Yeah.
Sidney Crosby's first loss, Team Canada loss
since 2010, since they lost to the US in the groups. Yeah.
26 straight wins.
And can I? This has been a long segment, but I gotta shout out one more here. I gotta talk Bruins at this thing. Charlie McAvoy was a bull in this game. So people that don't know puck are gonna be like, "What are you talking about, dude?" He gets beat on that McDavid goal, and he does. He gave half a step to Connor McDavid. Most players you can allow that. Connor McDavid, you can't. So yeah, he gets beat by literally the best hockey player on the planet Earth, and the fastest hockey player on planet Earth. Yep, it did happen. After that, he looked like a Norris guy after that. In fact, where it really turns for the U.S. after that McDavid goal is the next shift. McAvoy just absolutely punts McDavid, lays him out. Like, Connor McDavid has not gotten hit like that maybe in his entire NHL career. Like, absolute freight train along the boards, perfectly good hit. And that really lifted the U.S. In fact, they scored like less than a minute later. And on the bench, Brady Tkachuk's mic'd up, and he literally is like, "That's Charlie. That's Charlie. Charlie got us going. That's Charlie." It sounds like Slapshot, man. They're like, "Yeah, he set the tone. He set the tone." And he was great after that, and he was terrific on the penalty kill. Like, the U.S. still misses Quinn Hughes, but Charlie McAvoy was fantastic for them on Saturday. Best game I've watched him play every game the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. This is the best I've seen him play in 2 years, that game on Saturday night. So yeah, especially if you take out that goal for McDavid, but the U.S. was the more physical team. They played terrific team defense the whole game. I mean, how many times do Crosby and McDavid and McKinnon get to the blue line and they got to dump it in? Like that is a win for the U.S. Even if Canada chases down the puck, like you took away a zone entry from the best players in the world.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Rogue Media Sports.